What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the FitBod Blueprint. Once again, you got Coach Phil and Coach Tyler. Tyler, how you doing today, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. We got a bit of a cold running through the house, though. So knocking on wood that Dad doesn't get taken down.
Oh, man. I think this is the first time that we've talked where I can say the same thing. We've actually got, I think it's an Arctic front moving through. So our peak temperature for today here in Middle Tennessee was like 51 degrees or something. And it's one of those it was peak temperature at like midnight and it's just progressively dropping. So it's not below freezing at 10:45 a.m. And they're calling for a low before tomorrow morning of like 17 degrees here.
Yeah, that's cold.
I'm like, this is unique. So like, I'm all bundled up this week.
Yeah. I also meant, that the house is getting sick in terms of cold. So hopefully, I stay strong and I can keep this house together.
Take your vitamin D, brother.
Yep, exactly. Gonna be eating a bunch of oranges today.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I tell you the other thing that I've been doing since, it started getting cold here. So like, I know everybody absolutely loves using their sauna, and there's a lot of good in-home options. But
Yeah.
it was about a year ago, back whenever we were still in Florida, around this time of the year, that our local Walmart had accidentally mispriced one of those inflatable hot tubs.
Oh, yes.
They're usually like $500-600, and somebody had mistagged it for like $199. So I grabbed that sucker and I just set it up.
Nice.
I have been loving cranking that to 104, which is its max, and just getting in there and just pouring buckets of sweat. Like, that has
awesome.
been fantastic. Between that and just some vitamin D, I mean, knock on wood, I've been pretty solid here for cold and flu season.
Yeah, you found the magic formula. That indoor sauna or something like that is definitely like on my bucket list, though. I would love to get one of those for the house. I think that would be so awesome.
Yeah, man, and I love seeing that they've come down in price just with more availability and more brands. Like, let's face it, they're all pretty much coming from Temu now. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, hey, indoor sauna for like $100. Like, okay. Plus, I get to sit in a tiny little chair and have like an isolation pod and feel like Darth Vader for a little bit.
Yeah. Man, those Finns, they know what they're doing.
I know, 10 minutes of peace and quiet. Like, I mean, I love my kids' obligatory comment there, but, it.
You know what? I almost think the hard part would try to be, keep Quinn out of the sauna, though. I think she would like it too much.
Yeah. No, so like we've let the kids in. I mean, we obviously crank the temperature down. We're not trying to cook babies.
Yeah.
But
No.
we, we cranked it down to like 99, which is still, it's chiller than Ellie's bathwater because like she wants it just cranked. Like she's like,
Same with Quinn. Hotter. I'm like, Quinn, that's pretty hot.
right. There are times I get the meat thermometer just to double check. Like, baby, this is showing it's like 105. I think we need a dog. No, Daddy, I'm fine. Like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Checking the water. We're not checking the temperature of your kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Check the water temp. But no. So we've let them in and they've loved it. The problem that we found is that children don't differentiate whether they're in like a swimming pool at like a hotel or a resort from being in a little like 4-person inflatable hot tub. So that's been fun. Yeah. But anyways.
One of our friends has that as well, and obviously when we're over, the kids love going in, and it's like, all right, guys, it's not a big pool, all right? Like, you can have fun, but there is a difference here.
Yeah, let's frolic. Let's just frolic. That's all.
No cannonballs.
Yep, just a nice, innocent little frolic is perfect. Yeah. So anyways, man, I'm really stoked about today's topic. So this week, we're going to start getting into designing your own training program. So, Tyler, you and I have been doing this, collectively, we've got nearly 20 years of experience on this, if not more, to be perfectly honest.
Which is kind of weird to think about. I still feel like sometimes I'm just fresh into the industry and like I'm still brand new to this. And then, we say that, it's like, Shit, it has been a while.
Right. Like I became a personal trainer right before I turned 19. So that's 14 years for me of doing this. Hang on, 35 minus 19. Shit, is that 16? Damn it. Oh,
You're hoping to be on the underside of 15.
I know. Like, okay. When
Yeah.
I started personal training, my hair was so thick that I had to go like every like 2 or 3 weeks to just
Yeah.
thinning shears taken
Yeah.
through it because otherwise, like, I couldn't get a comb through it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, I mean, look,
Nowadays. Yeah, how about that? I mean, how about this? When I started personal training, online training wasn't even a thing yet.
no,
Like there was no such thing. Like there was rumblings of it, but it wasn't even a thing.
yeah, it was like, oh, I heard you could email this guy and get a
Yeah,
program.
Lane Norton, right? Like that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited because this is something that I know you and I have heard multiple different people, multiple different goals, walks of life, training backgrounds. And the number one thing that I get from people for why they're reaching out to a coach to design their training program is simply decision fatigue. They've heard this person say you need to be training no more than 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week. But then they heard somebody else that they deem a guru to say, no, it's totally fine. If you're not spending an hour and a half in there 4 days a week, you're not doing anything. There's so much information and misinformation, and it can be really hard to dive through this stuff. So let's start to kind of get into some of the nuts and bolts. Number one consideration for when someone is trying to design their training program, what would you say that is?
How much time you got? And I mean, how much time does the client have? What is going to be realistic for them to be consistent? Now, certainly, we're going to marry their goal into that, and that's always going to be part of the consideration, but we do have to really look at someone's life and the context of their life, right? Like, there is going to be a massive difference between someone in their 20s, doesn't have a family, has all of this time to train, maybe just works full time, and they're going to be just pretty free. And they're also going to have a lot more energy as well, right? To maybe now someone like you and me working full time, kids, sports for the kids, all these other responsibilities, like those are just going to look a whole heck of a lot different. And yes, we're going to incorporate whatever their goal might be into this, but that time factor is going to be the biggest deciding factor that's going to now start to cascade down our decision-making tree of what are we going to start to prioritize. And so that is ultimately, in my opinion, the biggest thing, because if you're someone who only, say, has 3 days a week at 45 to 60 minutes apiece,
or even 30 minutes, 3 days.
Or even 30 minutes, that's going to then really drive everything else that we're going to do down that decision-making tree of once we start, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit, is volume, exercise selection, and split, in terms of what those days are actually going to look like.
No, 100%. It's like I tell a lot of people, it's 2024 as we're recording this. You can literally search any bodybuilder or men's physique or classic physique or bikini, wellness, fig. You can look up any single one of those people that have been on an Olympia stage in the last 10 years, and you could find their workouts because guess what? They all have social media accounts.
Yeah.
You could find that. And that would be a great workout if you are able to train the same amount of time that they are, if you're able to recover at the same rate that they are, but those are elite level athletes. I can go online and I can find, again, I'm a big pro wrestling fan. There's a huge guy named Sheamus that he has a whole YouTube channel called Celtic Warrior Workouts, and I can find any PWE person on there and figure out, oh, it's this person's arm day, this person's back day. That might be great, but if I don't have an hour and a half to spend in the gym, because for those people, that's literally their job is to protect and build their body, that's not really going to be applicable for me. And I don't think they'd be applicable for somebody in their 50s or 60s or 70s that, hey, you've got a completely different recovery rate. So that's always going to be number one, is how many days can you realistically go? But then also, what are your goals for training? And that's the question I ask a lot of my clients, and it doesn't matter what is being proposed. It could be a supplement. Well, what's your goal for taking the supplement? It could be a specific type of cardio that they want to implement. Well, what's your goal for this? So whenever it comes to designing your training program, what is your goal? Are you just working out, or are you training for something specific? If you're training for a powerlifting meet, your training program is going to be completely different from someone that's just going, you know what? I know that I need to move my body. I know I've lost a little bit of muscle mass. I just want to do something that is moving blood flow. It's going to be promoting good heart health. I'm just trying to get healthy and be strong and fit for my family, which is still an absolutely phenomenal goal. That does not need to be shortchanged at all. That's a great place for 90% of people. And realistically, that needs to be 90% of people's training. Why? Why are you training? To be healthy, strong, and fit for my family and for myself. So that might look like 3 days a week at 30 minutes. I would even say that my average client is only in the gym 3 days a week for 30 to 45 minutes. 45 minutes if we're counting their warm-up and their mobility work, which is usually 10 minutes. So if your goal is to have better mobility, have better flexibility, move better, move stronger, then assess how many days per week can you realistically commit to that. For me, I also like to have people walk through like, all right, what are the resources that you have next? So that's my second one. We're talking about a big difference of somebody, and we both coached through COVID. So I distinctly remember I wrote training programs for people that the only thing they could find, because you couldn't, after a week, you couldn't find resistance bands. You couldn't find equipment. Equipment was like 2 to 3 months order. And it was something on the secondhand market, like you were paying 3 times the price. So I was writing training programs that it ended up becoming, hey, how many bags of rice can you buy at your grocery store? You got an old backpack, you got a duffel bag. What's available to you? Do you have a gym membership? Is it feasible to purchase one? Is there a gym on your way home or on your way to work that you can make that commitment to a few days per week? Now, if you have home gym equipment, fantastic. I am a garage gym guy at heart. I started my training career lifting in a metal barn in Florida in July. So it was dirty, it was dark, it was hot as Hades, but it's how I fell in love with lifting. So for me, I like basics. I like barbells and dumbbells. But if you're someone that goes, yeah, I do too, great. Then let's figure out, what do you have for your equipment? I'd say that's probably my number 2, is what resources do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I even have that question in my follow-up fitness history questionnaire that I send, is what do you have access to? Because I was finding that, like, it was coming at that last minute on the call, and, being able to know that beforehand, it already allows me to start to get an idea of what that program is going to look like. And so that's obviously going to have a huge impact on what we can do, right? Like, I mean, if you just have some kettlebells at home and a couple dumbbells, all right, it just allows me to set the expectations for you as a client, right? You're like, okay, this is fine, we can make use of this, but just know it's gonna have to look a certain way, right? And you can start to have that then discussion of, hey, maybe at a certain point we may want to either A, look at getting some more equipment, or B, start to look at a gym membership. But we can, get started here and really make good use of this. When I worked as a kinesiologist / personal trainer at a bit of a private gym here where I live, and this kind of has always stuck with me as a bit of a rule of thumb. And the rule of thumb was, you should be able to create an amazing workout in just one of those little gym square pads, and you should never have to leave it. You should be able to create a workout just in there if needed, because it was a smaller gym, and if the floor was packed, 10 people, it was packed. And so you sometimes did have to do that, and it would be a couple dumbbells, maybe some resistance bands, and I could easily create a 1 hour workout within that whatever square, 2x2, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter what you have at a certain point. Again, there's gonna have to be some type of progression, but having and knowing what those resources are, really allows us just to get started. And I think it's really, important that we kind of state, that something is better than nothing, right? If you're just not moving at all, we can do so little and get so much benefit out of that.
And again, it's just where your resources have to also match your goal. So like somebody that says, hey, my goal is to train for my first powerlifting meet. That's great. But if you only have kettlebells, you need barbells, you need a squat stand, you need a bench. Mm-hmm. Not that you got to go putting thousands of dollars into a home gym, but if your goal is to get there at some point, you will need to make that investment. So once we've got all of our goals and we've got our resources figured out, and we figured out, okay, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, what makes sense? So what would you say is the general framework whenever it comes to exercise selection?
Yeah. I think I just want to quick say the next important thing is enjoyment of the program. And I want to always make sure that the client, and, because if you're just not going to enjoy what we're doing, it's no longer a great program. And so I always try and make sure that I get the person in on the decision making a little bit, mm-hmm. right? And making sure that they enjoy the exercises that we are doing. And, that kind of, I think, comes right into that exercise selection of, I'll have that discussion with them sometimes. If they have some history of training, like, okay, what exercises do you enjoy doing? What exercises don't you enjoy doing? And, depending on those answers, I may have a little back and forth of, okay, well, I don't like deadlifts. Well, can we maybe still work those in some fashion just because of how great they are? But again, we'll kind of come back to what is their goal, right? And then also how much time do they have? If their goal, and we'll keep using the powerlifting template here, is, well, guess what? You're going to have to be doing a squat, bench, deadlift, right? Like that is just going to have to be there because those are the three primary modes of powerlifting.
Wait. I'm signed for powerlifting meet, bench only.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, if we want to get into it, yeah, there are certain meets where you can do bench only. You might be looked down upon in that world, but you can do that. Or if you are a bikini competitor, well, guess what? We're doing lots of glutes, we're doing lots of hamstrings, and lots of shoulders. Like that is just going to drive a lot of our programming.
And if you're men's physique, congratulations. You just need to train calves as far as lower body goes. And,
yeah, calves only. Yeah, calves and lats. But then if you are, let's say just, a gen population, a parent, things like that, and maybe we are limited on time and frequency, I'm going to always go more towards your compound movements. And that doesn't mean just squat, bench, and deadlift. I'm talking about exercises that are going to move a lot more muscles than, say, just a single bicep curl, right? Where we are looking at maybe big lat pull downs. We are looking at rows. We're looking at dumbbell chest presses, overhead presses, where we're basically going to get the best bang for our buck, where we don't have to spend a lot of time in the gym and we're still going to get a lot out of it. We were talking like 30, 45 minutes. You can get a really fantastic workout in by doing these bigger compound movements of your squat or your leg press or hack, Romanian deadlift, all of those types of things.
I love that you brought that up because, and this stands out. So I did my workout today. I did back and biceps, right? So here's everything that I did. I did a standing cable pullover, 3 sets, 12 to 15 reps. I used 60 to 70 pounds on this. I did a lat wide pull down. So lat pull down, wide grip, for 4 sets of 8 to 15 reps, going from 150 pounds to 100 pounds. I did a machine high row, going 3 sets of 8 to 10, utilizing 180 pounds. I did a Smith machine shrug, 3 sets at 8 to 10 reps, cable bicep curl, machine preacher curl. That entire workout, so doing 3 sets of 8 to 12 for all of my arm work, that entire workout, I clocked it in at 41 minutes.
There you go.
Utilizing the rest timer, everything. So people hear all the time, like, man, you can't get in a great workout in less than an hour. And it's like, the hell you can't. My lats are absolutely pumped right now.
Yeah.
But I love that you brought this up. It's about enjoyment ultimately. And you want to get bang for your buck, because you think about the compound movements and how much they carry through to day-to-day life. I was just having this conversation with a new inquiry yesterday. So after he signed up, we hopped back on a phone call and we're designing the program together. So I was explaining to him why I have the machine row in for him. And he goes, well, I really like the lat pull down better. So, well, hey, that's great. Is there maybe a cable row that you would be open to? Because let's think about from a functionality standpoint. So this particular individual is in his mid-50s. He has time for 3 days a week. So I explained to him, like, all right, do you use an air fryer at home? Yes. Okay. I don't know about you, but whenever I go to pull that thing out from under the cabinet, it's going to grab onto the counter. There's rubber underneath it. The last thing I want to do is pull my air fryer towards me and feel like I just strained my back. Use your lats. It teaches you how to use day-to-day movement. Or if you're trying to pull a shopping cart out, because I don't know about you, but every time I go to a Walmart, and it only happens at Walmart, the damn carts are so sticking together. I don't want to hurt my back trying to get a cart unstuck. So you use that rowing motion, and that's why it's so important to have something like that in there, because it's a key compound movement.
Yeah. And it's going to come down to, like we said, like your best bang for your buck. And we have to make sure that we are keeping that time in mind. And, we can even then talk about like your secondary muscles. Like, you're doing a back day, you're getting some bicep activity, right? Like, there is going to be some work done already. And I think it's in the Eric Helms Pyramids of Strength program, but they tend to count that, I believe, as like a half set, right? Where you are getting some of that secondary work. So if you're doing, let's say 9 sets of back work, well, you're almost getting 3 to 5 sets of biceps right there. And yes, everyone wants bigger arms. That's something I think everyone wants, but you can then start to have that discussion and think about it in that way of, well, maybe I actually don't need a full arm day, and I can actually now put my time and effort into other things that are probably going to be a lot more beneficial to me, not just from a muscular side, but from a functionality side as well.
Right. And so like, that's why I do 3 sets of 2 exercises for my biceps on my back and bicep day, because counting each one, like 3 sets, I mean, the pullover, you're not really getting much bicep activation, but if we're counting the 3 sets of rows and 3 sets of pull downs, well, that's almost like having 3 sets for the bicep if we're counting each one as like a half of a set. Yeah. So you want to just keep in mind, like, those big compound movements are so beneficial because they're hitting those smaller muscles, and now you can better utilize your time in the gym. And again, it comes back to just find something you enjoy. I get people that get confused all the time because they hear, they'll see a YouTube channel where it's my top 5 back exercises. And it's like, all right, wide grip lat pull down, reverse grip lat pull down. It's like, they're both great. Which one do you enjoy better? I happen to like a wide grip better, but the dude that I train with most of the time, he likes doing a reverse grip. Awesome. That's what he does. And since we're using the wide bar, he can do that too. Pick what you enjoy, and don't get too lost in the weeds over exercise selection. At the end of the day, a good training program, whenever you look throughout the course of the week, you should have at minimum, say 5 sets total at minimum. So feel free to do more, but there is a point of diminishing returns without getting too much into the weeds. You should have some type of a knee hinging movement. So think about squats, whether squats, leg press, lunges, your knee is hinging. You should have some type of a hip extension. You should have some type of a hip hinge. So we've got usually some type of a deadlift variant, some type of a hip thrust. Easy enough. You've now just done a great lower body program.
Yeah. If it's just those 3 in one day, boom, right there. Maybe you're doing 4 sets of each, 8 to 10 reps, 8 to 12 reps. You are, and maybe we can talk about intensity a little bit, and you're pushing it to the limit. Mm-hmm. Boom. For a lot of people, that's going to be more than enough.
Right. Upper body is pretty simple. Think vertical and horizontal, and you only have to remember 2 movement types, push and pull. So vertical push, vertical pull. Basically some type of a shoulder press, some type of a lat pull down. Horizontal push, some type of a chest press, horizontal pull, some type of a row. If that is your program, you're working your biceps, you're working your triceps. Don't worry about them. Start off with the basics. Now, again, everything comes back to just find something you enjoy. And if you're someone that you are like me, I'm a bro at heart. I will take a good, solid chest day any day of the week. If I could just bench 5 days a week, I would. So Tyler's going.
Sure, you know what? I'm sure you can market that somehow and sell a bunch of bucks.
Maybe if I didn't have a soul, but
yeah.
What I always just recommend is, again, find the things that you enjoy doing, implement them, give yourself 2 days of rest before hitting that same muscle again, at minimum. If you're sore after 3 days, probably don't need to worry about rushing it too soon. And if you're lingering on beyond 3 days of soreness, like that's why I have a recovery question in my client's check-in. If somebody's reporting that it's taking 4 days a week to recover from their workouts, we got to dial back volume or intensity. So let's touch on intensity, because I do want to later on do a deeper dive on this on a later podcast for intensity and how to gauge it. With intensity, what are you looking for out of someone? How hard should a set be, or how does somebody know that they worked hard enough?
Yeah. So I tend to utilize reps in reserve, RIR, quite a bit. That's kind of my...
For those who don't know, explain the RIR step.
Yeah, so essentially, just to maybe just use it like an example, right? So let's say you've got a chest press, 3 sets of 10, and we're aiming for an RIR of 3 for that first set of 10. Essentially what that means is you would pick a weight that you think you could do for 13 reps to failure with perfect form. We always want to mention that. But you are going to stop at 10 reps, thus leaving 3 reps in reserve. Okay? So that's essentially what RIR is. And what we do know from our data and our research out there is to get the adaptations that we want, and whatever the rep range might be, we know also we can work from anywhere from 5 reps up to 30 reps, and pretty much there's a continuum there. There is nuance, but we can do that in a later podcast. We want to be anywhere from 0 RIR, so complete failure, not every single set, but occasionally going to complete failure is a good idea, to 3 RIR. Right? So anywhere from 0 reps failure to leaving 3 reps in reserve in our working sets is that intensity of where we want to be to make sure that we are pushing ourselves. And so that's what we're always going to be looking for. Now, it is a skill, RIR, and we also know this from the data, is that people who start off with, they're just not very good at knowing where that is. But we can learn as we go along. And I think that's where it is important to, one, send video to your coach. Like, have them, go, okay, you know what? let me know what you think that RIR was for the client side, and I'll let you know what I think that RIR was.
Right.
Because
that is a great tool that a lot of people are a little scared to utilize. So real quick, I want to touch on that. If you're nervous about recording sets in the public space, nobody cares if you're recording. What they care about is, are you being a jerk about it? And you don't have to go with the full setup of a tripod and a ring light. Like, you know what I do? I take my water cup, I take my phone, and I stand my phone up against my water cup. And nobody cares. And listen to what your coach says about what angle are they looking at. Because I'll tell you, as a coach, I'm trying, if I'm gauging your intensity, I'm trying to see your face and I'm watching the speed of the movement. Are we starting to break down form? Does rep 10 move just as fast as rep 2 did, but you're gauging it as 3 RIR and your face had absolutely no exertion on it? Well, we probably missed the mark. And what I also love about using RIR for people that are getting back into it or they're new to it is I can also tell them, look, the goal is that you should be somewhere in, let's say someone's instructions are 8 to 10 reps at 3 RIR. If they hit 10 reps and they go, shoot, I feel like I could do 5 more. And go beyond the rep range. And that's your sign that for your next set, you can probably handle a little bit more weight. Yeah. So it's a sliding scale. In the first 3 weeks of any new training program or doing any new movement in a program, you're probably going to have a lot of neurological adaptations that are taking place where you were able to push heavier load, but your body wasn't used to that particular movement pattern. So as you're getting into it, understand like what feels like 3 RIR in week 1 of doing a brand new movement or starting on a new program. By the time week 3 rolls around, you might have added 20, 30, 40, 50% even to that movement to hit that target RIR. The priority is always just to hit that target level of intensity. And that's why I love that you brought up whether it's 5 reps or 30 reps. It's about, did you reach the right level of intensity? And there's studies, I believe the biggest one came out of I think it was a study done in Brazil where they tested people that they broke them into 2 groups. One group trained to failure. The other group trained to 1 to 2 reps in reserve. And they measured strength increases and they measured muscle hypertrophy changes. And what they found was there was no discernible difference among the 2 groups for those that trained to failure versus those that trained 1 to 2 reps in reserve. And from my experience, the more often that you train to true failure, you're just going to increase your injury likelihood. And it's never going to be 0. Weird stuff happens all the time, but you want to try to manage that risk as much as you can.
Yeah, big time. I think, I don't know, maybe just to counter, I think it's a good idea to still train to failure every now and then because I think it helps you learn, right? And it helps you understand, okay, like that's kind of where things are at right now. And that's where I know failure is. And as you get, just better and better at everything, it does like allow you to now choose better weights, right? And really understand how to push yourself and where that is at. And the other thing I really like about utilizing RIR a lot is your strength, like, and how you feel on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, it's gonna change. Like, there are, no matter what, some weeks, you're just not gonna be as strong as you might be. Yeah. Well, guess what? That's the case, and let's say on a normal lift, well, we had to drop it 10 pounds, but for whatever that day, that is your RIR of 0 to 3. Well, we're still getting the proper intensity, right? And certainly there has to be something said about, obviously, like volume continuing to increase throughout a course of a block to make sure we're getting those changes. And so, like you kind of mentioned, if that's something that is continuous where our weights are dropping and we're not feeling recovered enough, then that's something different. But what we're talking about is more of those one-offs where hey, maybe I just didn't get a great sleep last night, or for whatever reason, just not feeling strong today. That's fine. We can lower the weight and still get a great, intense workout in without feeling like we've slid backwards.
No. So this is just kind of your framework for when it comes to designing your program. You now know, one, set a realistic expectation for how many days per week you're training. Two, know what your resources are available to you for exercise selection. Three, with exercise selection, movements that you're enjoying. Follow that framework of knee hinge, hip extension, for upper body, vertical and horizontal for a pulling movement, and vertical and horizontal for a pushing movement. Make sure that you are progressively increasing your intensity, whether that is increasing weight, whether that is increasing reps. No, I love that you're taking a deeper dive in this over on your YouTube channel. Specifically, you're doing a whole series on this now. Let everyone know where they can find you over on the tubes.
Yeah, so I'm working on, like you said, Phil, just basically creating individual videos that kind of start to go over what we've talked about today. And really, video one starting off with kind of, again, what we did talk about today in terms of how to start building that out. There is just so much, misinformation out there. There is so much information out there, and I feel like nutrition has been just talked about so much over the last 5 to 7 years in this space, and training has kind of got kicked to the curbside, and people are like, oh yeah, I just go in and I lift weights, or with no real plan. And I think there is a lot of nuance to it, where there are a lot of things we do want to pay attention to, that which maybe people aren't paying attention to, and they think maybe other things are more important than other things, and getting lost in some of the weeds. So go ahead, check out my YouTube. You should just be able to kind of search Tyler Wiebe into the search bar. I should pop up in there. Maybe we can put a link.
Spell your last name real quick for those who...
Wiebe. I before E, except after C. Let's get that right, people. Although I know that isn't the case in all people, or in all instances. The English language is messed. So go ahead and check it out. Maybe we can put a link down below to my YouTube in the description here. So you should be able to maybe just go ahead, click that, go find the series. Encourage you to watch, start with that first video, because I'm basically going to be going from most important to least important throughout the course of that series. And really, the goal is just to keep it as simple as possible, like 10 to 12 minute videos, going through a couple of things in each video, and just really how can you set up your own training program, not just the first one, but how can you progress them as well.
Perfect, man. Love that you're doing that. So if you are a person listening to us and going, man, this all sounds great, but I have decision fatigue and I just want to be able to reach out to someone, head over to FitBodInstitute.com. You can fill out a coaching inquiry form for either myself or Tyler, and you will hear back within 24 hours. So that's FitBodInstitute.com. Thank you, as always, for listening, Tyler. Thank you so much for always making time out of your day for this each and every week. Everyone's having a wonderful start to their December, and we will catch you all on the next one.